Good morning, students of class 12th. Welcome to your online classes. Now, see, students, today in your Flamigo section, we will be starting with chapter 2. Chapter 2, that is what? Lost Spring Stories of Stolen Childhood. Now, lost spring means what? That means we are talking about little children over here. That means who have lost their childhood. That's why the author is denoting this term to little children. They are just like spring. You know, spring season? It's a very cozy season, cozy weather. Okay? So, spring season, that means, is termed as very cozy and very pleasant weather. That means we are denoting these children by this term. The author has denoted these term to the small children. Lost spring. Lost spring means what? They have lost their childhood. Who is the author? Anis Jung. Who is the author? Anis Jung. Lost Spring Stories of Stolen Childhood. Little bit about the author we will talk about first. The lesson is an excerpt from Anis Jung book entitled Lost Spring Stories of Stolen Childhood. That means this excerpt has been taken out from Anis Jung's novel that is known as what? The name of the novel was what? Lost Spring Stories of Stolen Childhood. That means the author, that means she is a female. She analyzes the grinding poverty and traditions which torment the lives of innocent children. Now, in this we will be talking about what? That means that these children are living in the state of poverty and they are tortured by the rich people. Okay, they are tormented by the rich people who torture them mercilessly and they work under their guidance and control. The lives of the innocent children. We are talking about the lives of the innocent children. That means you often heard about the child labor. That means previously the people used to work as a child labor anywhere they used to work and they used to earn for their families. They don't study and they used to earn for their family members. Now, be he a Sahib of Simapuri. The one, the character will be talking about Sahib. That means his full name is what? Sahib A. Alam. His full name is what? That character's name is what? Sahib A. Alam. We'll talk about him. That means he lives in the slum area of Simapuri. And in the second phase of the story, we'll be talking about Mukesh. Who is Mukesh? Mukesh belongs to a makers of bangle family makers. Mukesh belongs to a makers of bangles of who makes bangles from tradition. That means traditional bangles they make from generation to generation. Mukesh belongs to that family. That means he lives where? He lives in Firozabad. Now this story is divided into two phases. The first story belongs to the rag pickers. Now what do you mean by rag pickers? That means those children who pick the rags. Rags means what? Dirty things, bottles, okay, you could say teens, you could say books and old books and all. That means they pick up and they sell to the person who is doing the rag picking business, and they earn the money from them. That means these are known as who? Rag pickers. Often in your colonies where you are living, we often find these children. That means early in the morning or in the afternoon time, you can see them. They are picking the rags, they are picking the dirts, they are picking the bottles, they are picking the papers, they are picking the polythenes and selling them to whom? They are selling them to rag picker persons who are doing the rag picking business, and they earn the money from them. The first story, the first part of the story tells about them, tells about the rag pickers. And in the second part of the story, we'll talk about whom? We'll be talking about bangle makers. That means who make bangles. That means particularly near Delhi in Firozabad. That means Firozabad is known as the city of making bangles. They make very colorful bangles and all. That means the story is divided into two phases. Only remember about two characters. What are those characters? The two characters are really very important in this lesson. That means the character of Sahibe Alam and the second character is of Mukesh. That means the character of Sahibe Alam will talk about what? That means the story of rag pickers. That means we'll be talking about the story of rag pickers who are selling the rag to the rag sellers. That means rag businessmen, and they are earning the money from them and they are running their family and they are living in the state of poverty. We'll talk about them in the first story. In the second story, whom we'll talk about? We'll be talking about the family of bangle makers. We'll talk about the family of bangle makers who make colorful bangles, traditional bangles. We'll talk about them in the second phase of the story. Now we will be discussing about the first phase of the story. Now see, in the first phase of the story, we'll talk about rag pickers. That means those who pick up the rags, the dirty things, the bottles, the old bottles, the tins, and the old books and all, the polythenes and all, they collect and they sell and they earn money through that. We'll talk about that now. Now see, about the rag pickers, in the first paragraph, I will be explaining you about what? Searching for gold in the garbage. What do you mean by searching for gold in the garbage? That means these rag pickers search gold in the garbage dumps. Dumps means what? The huge dumps, the heaps. The heaps are known as dumps. We'll talk about that. Anis Jung is the author of the story. Comes across Sahib every morning. That means Anis Jung, she is the author of the story and she meets Sahib every morning. He can be seen scrounging for gold. He can be seen searching for gold. What do you mean by scrounging? Scrounging means searching for gold in the garbage dumps. In the heaps of garbage, they are searching that. Searching for gold and silver and all. He came from Dhaka. Where he came from? He came from Dhaka. He does not even remember his old home. Long back, when Bangladesh was separated from Pakistan in the year 1971, he came to India during that time. We are talking about that period. That means he does not remember even his old home now. At present, he does not remember his old home at all. He does not go to school. He does not go to school and he does the work of rag picking. There is no school in his neighborhood. In his neighborhood, there is no school at all. His full name is Sahib Alam. His full name is what? Sahib Alam. As William Shakespeare said, what? What is there in the name? Okay. Name does not suggest you. That means you are denoted by your work only. What is there in the name? As William Shakespeare said. Okay. That means his full name is what? Sahib Alam. Sahib Alam means what? That means he is the king of gods. You could say that. It means the Lord of the universe. That means Sahib Alam means what in Urdu? In Urdu we say that means he is the Lord of universe. But he does not know what it means. But he does not know what it means. But he does his work. He does his hard work. As William Shakespeare said, what is there in the name? You are denoted by your hard work. It means that. Okay. He roams about in the street with his friends. Along with his rag pickers, he roams about in the streets with his friends. They are the army of barefoot boys. And they are the army of what? They are the army of barefoot boys. What do you mean by barefoot boys? That means they walk with naked foot. They walk with what? They walk with naked foot. They work in the morning and disappear at the noon time. Often we see these rag pickers often work in the morning and they disappear in the noon time, in the afternoon time. They live in perpetual state. They live in perpetual state means what? What do you mean by perpetual state? That means they live in a very dirty condition, unwanted condition you could say, perpetual state, unbearable state you could say, okay, of poverty, which you can't watch at all. They are living in such a state, okay, and can't afford even shoes for themselves. They can't afford even shoes for themselves. They walk barefoot, they walk naked foot, you could say, without slippers and all, without shoes and all, okay. Other young boys wear shoes. Other rich people, children, they wear shoes. The author says like that. But most of the rag pickers like Sahib remain shoeless. But most of the rag pickers like Sahib, they remain shoeless. That means they remain without shoes and they work all the time without shoes. Now in the second paragraph, we'll talk about what? Simapuri, a home for rag pickers from Bangladesh. That means we are talking about Simapuri, which is situated in the outskirts of the city near Delhi. Simapuri is the outskirts of the city in Delhi. Now at present it is known as Noida. Okay, now at present in Delhi it is known as Noida. Another tall buildings have been constructed. That means they have captured these places, the rich people, the rich builders. They have encroached that place and they have made big buildings over there. Now that place is known as Noida. Okay, that means these rag pickers used to live over there in Simapuri, which is situated in the outskirts of Delhi. Okay. That means the people from Bangladesh, these children from Bangladesh who came in the year 1971, they stayed over there. Now see, most of these rag pickers live in Simapuri. During that time, most of these rag pickers live in Simapuri. Simapuri means what? The outskirts area. That means we are talking about the outer area of the city. That is known as outskirts of the city. Okay, the outer area of the city, it means that just like Seora is the outer place of Jabalpur, you could say. It is a place on the periphery of Delhi. Periphery means what? The outer place, the outskirts of Delhi, periphery of Delhi. There is no sign of any development in progress. There is no sign of any development and progress over there. Total there is a slum area. Okay, the houses are made of mud. Most of the houses are made of mud and all. Okay, they have roofs of tin and tarpaulin. They have roofs of tin and tarpaulin. That means tin, you know, that means that is made of tin sheets. Okay, that is known as tin. What do you mean by tarpaulin? Tarpaulin means the big cloth sheet, just like a kanat and all. That means that is known as tarpaulin. That means it is made of tarpaulin, their roofs. That means we are talking about that. There is no sewage at all. There is no free flow of water at all. No sewage at all. Drainage at all. The water is not flowing, going through. Okay, it means that they are not having running water at all. It means that, okay, they are not having proper drainage at all. Water is remaining still at one place, and due to that lots of dirt is there, lots of smell is coming from there. They live in such a condition. More than 10,000 rag pickers have lived there for 30 years. More than 10,000 rag pickers have lived there for 30 years. They came there from Bangladesh in the year 1971. All these rag pickers came from Bangladesh in the year 1971. They have no identity or permits at all. They are not having any identity or permits at all. What do you mean by they are not having any identity or permits? That means they are not having any voter card IDs. They are not having any PIN cards. They are not having any ration cards at all. You could say that. Okay. They are not having any Aadhaar cards and all. You could say that. Okay. They do have what? They do have ration cards, you could say. Ration cards they are having, but okay, enable them to vote and buy grain. That means the government is running policy to vote. That means they can use them as a voters. The government should use them as a voter. That's why they have provided them with the ration cards, so that they could vote. Okay, at least they could vote and they can buy grains for themselves. Ration cards that enable them to vote and buy grains. For them, food is more important than identity. For them, what is important? For them, food is more important than identity. Women have around in tattered saris. That means women always wore old, dirty and tattered saris. Torn saris, it means that. Okay. Now in the next paragraph, we'll talk about survival means rag picking. That means if we'll talk about these rag pickers, the means of survival is only rag picking for them. That means they could earn their living through rag picking only. That means collecting the dirts and all, the old bottles, the polythenes, the tins and all. Okay. It means that they are earning the money through that only. Children grow up in poverty and dirt. If we'll talk about these rag pickers, they grow up in poverty and dirt. They become partners in survival. All these rag pickers all together, they become partners in survival, in earning their living. Survival in Simapuri means rag picking. That means if you are staying in Simapuri, the outer skirts of Delhi, the outer area of Delhi you could say, or periphery of Delhi you could say, that means the main thing is what over there? The main thing, the main work is done of rag picking only. Through years, it has acquired the status of a fine art. That means for the rich people, it's a status of painting. It's a status of fine art and all. Okay. Now see, garbage to them is gold. For these rag pickers, they earn their living through garbage only, through dirt only. For them, garbage is gold for them. Sometimes a child can find a silver coin in the heap of garbage. Sometimes a child can find a gold coin or a silver coin in the heap of garbage. In the heap of garbage means in the heap of dirt he could find a silver coin or a gold coin also sometimes. Okay. A child can find a silver coin in a heap of garbage. There is always hope of finding something more. That means there is a hope of finding something more in the garbage. They are always in the search of that. We are talking about these rag pickers. Garbage is wrapped in wonder for these children. Garbage is wrapped in wonder for these children. That means it is just like a magic for them. Garbage is a magic for them. Okay? For elders, it is a means of survival. For elders, it is a means of survival for them. That means these children are earning money for these family members and it is a means of survival for them. Now in the next paragraph, I will explain you about Sahib gets a small job. Now along with rag picking, what does Sahib do? Along with rag picking, Sahib does a small job in a tea stall also. He works in a tea stall as a part-timer. That means he works in a tea stall as a part-time job he does there. Okay, we'll talk about that. Sahib gets a small job. Now what job he gets? One morning, the narrator sees Sahib standing by the fenced gate of a club. One morning, Anis Jung sees that Sahib is standing near the fenced wall. That means where the wall was fenced. He was standing near the gate of a club. Where he was standing? He was standing near a gate of a club. Two young men dressed in white are playing tennis. Two men dressed in white, they were doing what? They were playing tennis. Sahib is also wearing a tennis shoes. Sahib is also wearing a tennis shoes. That means he has got some torn shoes from somewhere. He picked it up and he wore that on that day. He refused to wear them because of a hole in one of them. Some of the rich boy has thrown that shoes away and he refused to wear. Why? He refused to wear because there was a hole in that shoe and Sahib-e-Alam picked it up and he wore that and he was watching tennis through that shoes. Okay? He refused to wear them because of a hole in one of them. For Sahib, even shoes with a hole is a dream come true for him. For Sahib-e-Alam, even the hole in the shoes was a dream come true for him. Because he found those shoes and he wore that. Okay. Now see, for Sahib, even shoes with a hole is a dream come true for him. Now Sahib works in a tea stall. Now Sahib works in a tea stall also. He gets 800 rupees and on his meals. Sahib works in tea stall also as a part-timer and he gets 800 rupees and all his meals. And he gets his meals also over there. He gets his food also over there. His face has lost the carefree look. Sahib face has lost the carefree look. He is carrying a steel canister with him. He always have a steel canister, in which tea is kept. Through that you are serving the tea to the people. Okay, that is known as canister. Okay, it seems heavier than the plastic bag that he used to carry on his shoulder. That means it is heavier than the plastic bag. In the plastic bag means what? The plastic bora we are talking about, in which Sahib used to keep all the rags. Okay, that is lighter. That is lighter than the steel canister. But the steel canister is heavier than that. The author is saying that the bag was his. That means that bag was his. The canister belongs to the shop owner, but the steel canister belongs to the shop owner, but the bag was belonging to him, in which he was collecting the rags. The canister belongs to the shop owner. Sahib is no longer his own master. When he is working in the tea stall, Sahib is no longer his own master. He has to work according to the shop owner. He has to work according to the shop owner. That's why he is no longer his own master. Now this is the first phase of the story. Now in the second phase of the story, what we'll be talking about? Mukesh. As I told you, two characters are really important in this lesson. That means the first character we have discussed about what? Character of Sahib. His full name was what? Sahib A. Alam. He does the work of rag picking. Now in the second phase of the story about bangle makers, we will be talking about the character of Mukesh, which is a very important character in the second phase of the story. Now see, Mukesh insists on being his own master. That means Mukesh wants to be his own master. He wants to do his own work. He wants to do his own work. He does not want to do the working of bangle making at all. He was not interested in the working of bangle making at all. We'll talk about Mukesh now. Mukesh insists on being his own master. He wants to become his own master. Mukesh belongs to a family of bangle makers in Firozabad. Now we are talking about the character of Mukesh in the second phase of the story. That means Mukesh belongs to which family? Mukesh belongs to the family of bangle makers, and he is from Firozabad. Firozabad is also near Delhi. Mukesh wants to be a motor mechanic. Mukesh does not want to become a bangle maker. He wants to become a motor mechanic. He was interested in cars and all. That means that's why he wants to become a motor mechanic. He will learn how to drive a car, and soon he will learn how to drive a car. But his dreams loom like a mirage. But his dream look like a mirage. Now what do you mean by mirage? Mirage means what? Science students must be knowing that mirage. When you walk through desert now, that means as you go along, that means if you are confused on the way, that means you could see water. That means you could see water over there, but when you go there, that means you will not find the water at all. That means you are totally confused. Okay, that means your mind is in total confusion. Okay, that means you go there but you don't find water over there. That is known as what? Your illusion. You could say your illusion, a type of illusion creating in your mind. So that is known as, in Hindi we call that Brahm. Okay, that means you could see water over there, but when you go over there in desert, in Registan, you will not find water over there. That is known as mirage. That's why the author is denoting by this term, his dream is like a mirage. That means it is a dream. That means it's a sapna for him. It means that. Now see, he lives in a dusty street of Firozabad. Where he lives? He lives in a dusty street of Firozabad. The town is famous for its bangles. The town is famous for its bangles. Every other family is engaged in making bangles. If we'll talk about Firozabad, you will find every family is engaged in the work of bangle making only. Okay, it is the entire, okay, it is the center, you could say. Okay, the entire family, the Firozabad is the center of bangle making. Families have spent generation making bangles for women. Okay, making bangles for women. Mukesh family is among them. They make traditional bangles, they make all kinds of bangles. They make bangles for women, the colorful bangles they make. And Mukesh belongs to the family of bangle makers. Now in the next paragraph, we'll talk about what? 20,000 children worked in the glass furnaces. That means more than 20,000 children worked in glass furnaces. What do you mean by glass furnaces? The bhatti. You know that the bhatti, where the angara is moving on, they are melting the things and they are taking out the glass and they are rounding it and giving shape in the form of bangles. About 20,000 children work illegally in the glass furnaces. That means more than 20,000 children are working illegally in the glass furnaces, with which they are having very high temperatures over there. Okay, they live in the stinking lanes. They live in very stinking lanes. What do you mean by stinking lanes? जहाँ से बहुत ज़्यादा स्मेल आती है, बदबूदार गलियाँ. That is known as stinking lanes. They are choked with garbage. They are totally choked with garbage and all. Their homes are hovels. Their homes are totally hovels. Hovels means what? They are living in the state of unwanted poverty, you could see, which you can't see through your eyes. In such a condition, they are living. Okay, with crumbling walls, dirty walls, crumbling walls. They have no windows. They are not having windows at their homes. They are crowded with families of humans and animals. They are crowded with the family of humans and stray animals and all, you could say. The elder of the family is a poor bangle maker. The elder of the family is a poor bangle maker. He has failed to renovate his house. The elder of the family is a poor bangle maker and he has failed to renovate his house. That means he could not take care of his house and he has failed to renovate it. That means he has failed to repair that. You could say that. Nor